Okay. Tina's fixed it. Oh, right, I'm going to join this.
All right.
So, we're here.
Holy moly. That was intense.
We've all come a long way to do this podcast. So, welcome to the Fellowship of the Ring Pool. I'm just checking that people can see me. Can we see Tina? So we've got preview.
We could definitely
program.
see you. Yes.
You can see me, but
Yes.
I'm not the point of interest. We've been scratching our heads, doing a lot of Zen stuff. So, have we all got all cameras live in there, Thomas?
Okay.
Does it? Yeah. Okay. But can people see Tina?
Not yet.
No.
Yeah. Thomas, could you toggle the camera 2, please? Oh, now we're both.
Yay!
Okay, it's working. Thank you.
Yay!
Okay.
Sorry about that, Tina.
It's okay. Don't be sorry. This is a bonding experience. Trauma bonding, because we had a bit of a trauma with the coffee where I basically Uber eated 3 rounds of coffee to 3 different locations in random locations. Like, Christian, what
in
are
West
you doing?
Hollywood. So we're Black Friday, which is traditionally called thus because of really terrible traffic, because people used to go shopping, but they do it all online now. But it was okay getting here. It was just once we got here that the problem started.
Yes, and I think some people are saying, is this better, the volume, guys? Someone wrote, it's very, very quiet. So.
Yeah, it's sounding very quiet in my ears too.
Yeah.
Which is
Wait, very low frame.
Okay.
Right.
Really terrible traffic because people used to
Okay.
go shopping. But they
And
do it all online
whoever
now.
is listening, can we turn off the volume?
No,
'Cause I
volume
can
is
just-
still,
We got here, the problem
Yes.
started.
still very low.
And I think some people
Anyway.
are saying, is this
One, two,
Better
one,
than
two.
nothing.
Okay,
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah, and if
Yes.
anyone's got yeah, it's sounding very quiet. Yeah, we're hearing
We're hearing the YouTube video.
from
So-
somewhere, some mysterious source.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
better.
we're good. All right.
Excellent.
Oh no, I can still hear it. Is it? It's not from.
It was me.
it's not from-
It was me.
It was you. Oh,
Yeah.
Christian.
Yeah, sorry. It's really funny when I jump on like post-production chats online. It's always the sound departments who can't figure out how to switch their microphones on.
Yeah,
I find,
yes,
but
yes,
there we go. We're here at long last. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
So I was here yesterday in West Hollywood, and it's the first time I've been in America on Thanksgiving. And I just thought I'll just go and get something to eat yesterday evening. Left the hotel, nothing open. Everyone seems to be having even Mel's Diner was closed, which is saying something. So did you have a traditional Thanksgiving feast?
I wish I had known that you were here because I would have invited you.
Oh.
I did host with just a small family gathering, 8 people. We did not have any turkey or ham. Actually, there was a ham in the fridge, but we ended up with so much food we didn't cook it.
Okay.
So we had dumplings, we had pork buns, we had pork ribs, all kinds of other random things, and a lot of desserts as well.
Right, a lot of desserts, and so basically, was it like a Chinese kind of theme to it?
It was a fusion, a Chinese Western fusion.
Sounds good to me.
And I'm obsessed with like British, high tea. So everything was served on like high tea towers, which was
That sounds really cool.
Yes, afternoon tea.
So, I mean, I'd like to go back to the beginning. You were born in Shanghai, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Which whereabouts in China is that? You got
Okay,
to San Diego pretty quick.
Yeah, I left when I was 5 years old. Now, it's on the eastern part. It is the capital of China. So, yes, I was made in China in the year 1985.
Okay.
Both of my parents are classical musicians. My father is a cellist, and my mother is a violinist. And I was forced into the family trade, as I like to always say. But my parents, they actually met because they grew up during the Communist Revolution. So
Okay.
everyone had to be in the army, and they actually met in the army. And they were both playing in the orchestra. And my dad said he looked over into the second violin section and saw my mom, and then that was it. So and then they ended up moving to the U.S. to
Okay.
attend college. And then that's how I ended up coming up.
And that was in San Diego?
No, actually, we moved to Connecticut because they went to the Hart School of Music in Hartford. And then after about a couple years there, then we moved to San Diego, which is where I started playing the cello at age 7.5. Before that, I played the piano and the violin.
So you were like 3 when you started the piano?
Piano, yes, age 3 for piano, violin at 6. It was terrible, which is why I switched to the cello.
Yeah, I started playing the piano at 4. And I remember back in the day, they said that they made me wait because my hands weren't big enough. Nothing changes. But so you switched from the piano to the violin and then the cello at 7. Now, you said you were forced into the family business. Was it just kind of really encouraged, or it's like, this is our family? I mean, tell me about that.
The way I was raised was hardcore, right? Like boot camp. Without going into too much great detail, no, it was definitely forced, which I'm grateful for now. And I think a lot of like maybe Asian families can relate. I don't want to generalize about, cultures, but generally. And I think it was just because it was really the skill that they had, and they were just so worried about myself and my younger brother struggling to get by in life, and so they're like, okay, this is the one skill that we have that we can make money with. And they still teach music, they're music teachers, like private teachers, so it was really drilled into me. So I practiced like 8 hours a day from when I started. So my dad would wake me up before the sun was up, before school, every single day.
So this is when you're 7?
Yes. So we had lessons, usually an hour and a half or so in the morning in the garage, so we wouldn't wake up my brother and my mother. And then you go to school, come back, practice. We usually didn't even have time to have like family dinners. I know this is going to sound like, but microwave food really quick. And so it was just constant work all the time, which I think, looking back, has required some therapy, to fully process because of how extreme it was. But if you look at I think the benefits that came out of it, I'm not saying you should raise your children this way. There's probably some kind of middle ground, but the benefits is that you can't get those 10,000 hours of practice or whatnot in. Like if I wasn't forced to do it, I would definitely not have done 8 hours a day of practice. I mean, that's pretty extreme. So I basically just lived and breathed music and had no life until I was 18 and went to college.
Okay. I mean, that's an incredible story. And I think, as you said, there's definitely, as a parent myself, finding that middle ground is difficult because you don't want to be so laissez-faire as to, I guess the greatest gift I had was the support and encouragement of parents, and they got me a piano and all of that kind of stuff, but they wouldn't fucking let me give up. They didn't push me too hard to practice, but they just never let me give up. And I think that was kind of quite a good approach. Could they push me further? Definitely. And I guess, thinking about your situation, when music is a form of as well. I'm going to mute that. We've got some great, lovely, amazing faces on Google Meet, by the way, and we're going to come to you for questions in a minute. But I just thought we'd settle in after the kind of post YouTube trauma next door. But Tina, you, not dissimilar to it's a language, and I know that when for example, I've got some family in Spain, and the kids didn't really have a choice in learning 3 languages. It was. And it wasn't like drummed into them. It was just like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put you on, give you one step up maybe from the rest, So, I mean, I think that's really interesting. And I do know some people who were forced by their parents, not forced, but pushed by their parents musically, and have ended up kind of giving up their instruments and not wanting to play them anymore. Do you still have a love for playing?
Actually, yes. And I think the love was really developed actually after I left home. So I remember when I was in middle school, the AOL had just started sending out those discs. Is that what it was? Like the dial-up internet?
Sure.
So the internet was like invented when I was in middle school. I'm almost 40, by the way, guys. So sometimes people are like, what?
Yeah.
But I wasn't allowed on the internet, so I had no access to anything, no outside knowledge, basically, until I left home. Thank God I had a scholarship to USC, because that was the only way I was going to go to college, and it was for music. Music, and I think the forced practice, but I like to think of it as it's like mechanical training, right? It's training your body to be able to express yourself, to be a vessel for expression, to be able to channel. And it might sound a little frou-frou, but like I think for me, I am able to like open and channel when I'm playing music or performing, because the physical manifestation of it has been trained so much. I mean, just like anything, if my parents have forced me to practice basketball for 8 hours a day, I'm only 5'4", but I guarantee air dunking. So anything you do, you can become really, really good at it, and so, yeah, it was, I left, and then I started experimenting with different kinds of music. And now I do have a love for classical music, but I think my real passion is exploration, just in general, exploring things, trying to, I'm just very curious, and it does lead me to maybe do too many things at the same time, but I just have so much curiosity for it. So within music, I loved heavier music, dark music, industrial music, obviously affected by the way, like how much strife and like frustration I felt growing up. And so that like anger and the intensity is, I think, very real. And again, maybe I'm being like overly positive about it, but I do think that it was beneficial, because when you play music and when people emote or whatnot, I think you can tell when it's not faked, but yeah, when it's done for a show, and when it comes from a place where there's emotional attachment or depth to that, because you've lived it, you felt it, much like acting. So yeah, I started experimenting with different kinds of music, with the electric cello, with doing different things, and that's where I felt like I could breathe. Oh my God, like I can breathe, I can use this thing that I was forced to do. That wasn't my choice, but I was like, wow, I'm actually really glad that they forced me to do this, because now I can use it as a tool to explore, and I had no clue what I was doing. I have no idea how I ended up here now, but I think it's just a gradual day-by-day process, because in the end, does anyone know what they're doing?
No, every day's a school day. But I guess also for you, Tina, maybe in a way a kind of rebellion as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I know that something that I enjoy working with a number of really experimental cellists, and I know when they're put together with more classical cellists, there's this thing of like encouraging the people around them to play wrong, so all of these amazing ponticello techniques and stuff like that, being able to take something that you have refined over so many years and so many hours, and to kind of manifest something different out of that must be a kind of a form of rebellion, but also, a great source of expression as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, with, I think, having that traditional classical background upbringing, it is a good thing,
The family.
Should we tell them where we are? Where are we live from? We're in
Yeah.
We're in Los Angeles. Someone had too much turkey last night.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah, I think, my love for classical music, it is still there. It actually came back after it wasn't something I was forced to do. And I think of classical music and, all music is music, like whatever you want to call it, and heavy metal and whatnot, but it's all music, and it's like speaking in a different language. So for me personally, when I do play classical music, it taps into, I think, a different part of me. I feel more spiritual when I play classical music, because it lends itself to me. Again, it's all personal. It lends itself well to that. And when I play industrial metal or whatnot, or tribal music, which is my new thing that I'm doing, it kind of, I think I feel it more viscerally, like animalistically, and that taps into like my animal self, and the like passion and aggression and like, can I say sexual energy?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So it's all very, very different. I think, again, it's a good thing, because sometimes, with electric instruments, it is easier to get away with less technique. And I know but it is because you use effects and the blah, 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 you make sounds or whatever, you whip your hair around. And so it is very easy to kind of fake it. And I do think that it's important, like no matter what type of music and again, maybe it's because of my upbringing, but that you still have the solid foundation of technique underneath, especially if you're being recorded. Like that's a whole different world, the recording. You can hear every little thing.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, before we move on to that's something that I've noticed when I've seen you live, is there seems to be, and again, I think it comes from watching people who have just worked so hard and devoted so much time to something, where it seems to be this kind of, there is no break between where the body ends and where the instrument starts and where the sound comes out. It's you're not thinking about where you're putting anything. It seems like just an extension of you, and that surely must lend so well into those kind of live performances where you can be freer with your movement and all of that.
Yeah, definitely. Because growing up, I was painfully shy and awkward and afraid of speaking. And like, it's something that I've really worked on. Again, I think anything we work on as human beings, we can get better at it. And so all the way through grade school, maybe in high school, I started speaking a little bit more, but I would literally walk around the hallways at school with a book in front of my face, my head down, just so I didn't have to look at people. So like naturally, I think I'm actually extremely introverted, but because I played the cello so much, 8 hours a day, I spent more time playing the cello than I did speaking. And so even though now I'm a bit more verbose and I've trained myself to speak, I still feel like when I'm with my instrument and I'm playing or expressing myself through it, it's more me. It's like, you're right, there is no separation. Sometimes when I speak, we have to think about what we say, but with the cello, it's just a direct line to whatever is here.
I wish I thought more before speaking. Anyway, so explain to us how you got. So you went from music college. You discovered this thing of being able to plug a cello in. How did you get into the wonderful world of soundtracks, working with the likes of Foo Fighters all the way to Hans Zimmer, via Johnny Marr and all of that? Because, I mean, people will be very aware of your physical presence on say, the Hans Zimmer tours, but you also appear on countless soundtracks. How did that manifest?
Oh, boy. Okay, I'll try not to make this too long-winded, right, because it's kind of like this. It's all over the place. So I go to USC. I study classical cello, and it really actually was born out of a necessity to just make money to survive, because it's very expensive in Los Angeles. I didn't have family support financially, so thankfully I did have the full scholarship for the tuition, but it didn't cover living expenses and food and books. I remember the first semester, my textbooks were like $900, and that was such an astronomical, frightening amount of money to me. I mean, I couldn't pay it, so I opened a credit card, and very much in myself, as much as, music and expression and love, I think it was a very deep-seated need to be able to support myself and to make money and to be financially independent. And so I thought, like, okay, how can I make money? How can I make money with the one thing that I feel like I'm pretty good at, right? Okay, so I put out ads on Craigslist every day, 3 times a day, using different wording, because they would like flag me for like putting out too many ads. Say, oh, cellist available for hire. I played so many weddings, actually more funerals than weddings, sadly.
Cello.
Well, cello, yeah. A lot of bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs.
Okay.
I played an engagement once where I did think I might have like just put myself into a situation where I'd be murdered, because the guy had me wait in his closet for about 30 minutes while his fiance came home, like with my cello. And I thought when I was waiting there, I'm like, oh my gosh, like no one knows I'm here. Like maybe he's gonna come kill me. And so I've done all kinds of weird stuff with the cello. But my point is, I would play any type of music, whatever you want me to play. Do you play country? Sure. I had no idea how to play country music. And so I just kind of learned, everything that I did. And I think unintentionally, it actually broadened my musical horizons because, again, I had no exposure to anything but classical music previously. So I did that. And then I also did start playing some classical concerts as a soloist, never with like A-level orchestras, but I did play with some great orchestras over in Europe. And so I would have to take time off from school to be able to go and perform. And it didn't pay a huge amount, but a couple $1,000s or something for per show. And I had to do it because if I didn't do it, I wouldn't be able to survive to actually go to school. And it got to the point where I was 2.5 years into my cello performance degree. The only classes I was doing well in were cello performance and then a few other music related courses. But because I was gone so often trying to, to make money, I started getting really bad grades. And so they told me, in order to keep your scholarship, you have to stay here and stop performing. So you can get your degree.
The irony.
Yeah, it was ironic. And so I left. I dropped out of school. And again, I loved like the musical, I think, experience at USC. It was very traditional at the time. Now they're they have a pop music program and it's different. But at the time, it was strictly classical. And I loved my teacher there, Eleanor Schoenfeld, who, by the way, also taught my father. She discovered him in China. And so that was a whole other thing. And during that time, yes, I was experimenting with the electric cello. I started listening to a lot of actually Steve Vai and Yngwie Malmsteen, old school, right? Like the shredders. Because I feel like Yngwie especially has this connection with classical music, very classically based licks in the way that he plays. And so that I can understand. I'm like, oh, well, I can do that, and I would just sit, in addition to my practice, I would sit with my computer because I had access now to YouTube and the internet and just like play along and try to figure out what was going on because also improvisation is not something that classical musicians do, right? And so I would practice it. Like these things you have to practice. It doesn't just magically, maybe it magically happens for some geniuses, but I am not a genius. So, but maybe 2 hours a day, I would like just play along with like different guitar players and try to figure out what they're doing and what's a pentatonic scale, and I don't even remember what you asked me. I told, how I got into soundtrack music.
Yeah.
So at the time, I was playing on some student composer sessions, right? But it really wasn't something that I was focused on doing. I wanted to play industrial metal, and I had like several bands that I was trying to put together. And so after I dropped out of school, I had been in Los Angeles for maybe 5 years at that time. So like 2.5 years out of school, which is a pretty long time. I was living in a garage in Sun Valley, which is like way up north. No heat, no air conditioning. I mean, it was like, but it was cheap. It was $550 a month, including utilities and stolen cable. And I just practiced all day in there, and I did gigs here and there. I did play on my dear friend Austin Wintry's soundtrack for Journey. And at the time when we first started working on it, we had no idea it was going to be, this incredible thing that Austin did. It was just a small game from a small game company. We recorded it in his very first studio, very small studio. And we had both gone to USC. But other than that, everything else was like, little things here and there. And I was really struggling. Like with my band at the time, I just couldn't get anything off the ground. So I thought, okay, maybe my parents are right. Maybe I should be normal and audition for the San Diego Symphony because there was an opening for a cellist in the cello section. And I thought, okay, before I do this and give up, and I don't mean give up like it's wonderful to play in an orchestra, but give up on my own crazy dreams that I had of being a electric cello player that shreds and performs on stage and tours with like metal bands. That's really what I wanted to do. I should just make a music video and put it up on this new thing called YouTube that I've been watching, right? Just for myself. So one day when I'm 80, I can show my grandkids, oh, look at grandma when she was, 23 years old. And so at the time I had like $3,000, a little over $3,000 to my name, which not including my debt. So I was actually negative a lot. But I had that in my bank account and I thought, all right, if I'm just going to give up, right? I'm going to use this money, pull a lot of favors from friends and make this music video. And I made a industrial metal version of Flight of the Bumblebee. I know it's so overdone. Hans always says, I hate that song. discovered me, right? So it's because I thought, all right, what are people impressed by? Stuff that's in your face and obvious, and like, okay, I can play really fast. So I just did that. Artistically, it's a little extreme. You do have to sign into YouTube to say you're 18 and over to watch this video. To me, it's art, so
Okay.
it's not. Okay, I don't know if you've seen it, but
I haven't.
it's called Queen Bee. And actually, initially, my idea was to have 100 nude male extras covered in gold body paint as the bees. But then I discovered, that I couldn't afford that because I had $3,000.
Yeah, the body paint's very expensive these days.
So yeah, I made the video, and anyway, my goal, right, which was to have this metal band, maybe Rammstein or Metallica, or somebody will see it and save me and whisk me away on tour. That did not happen. But what did happen was that a lot of soundtrack composers happened to see the video. So I think 1 week after the video came out, I was contacted by John Debney, Brian Tyler, and Hans Zimmer.
Wow.
Yeah, all within a week. And with Hans, I'm always so grateful to my friend Anne-Marie, who I met doing another project, but she was working with Hans at the time, and he had asked her, "Oh, I'm looking for like a cellist, someone like weird or unique or whatnot," and she showed him the video, so that's how he saw that video. But yeah, I mean, it was a huge gamble, and that wasn't my intention. So how I got into soundtrack music was completely by accident, but I think I'm actually I think the way that I am lends itself well to soundtrack music because there is no limitation of genre. Depending on what you're scoring, what you're doing, you can play everything from very beautiful spiritual music that's classically based to extreme, metal, electronic, whatever. And yeah, it's genre defying, and for myself, I have a hard time staying in one genre, and so I think it's wonderful. So it was a perfect situation that I ended up in by accident.
It's just such an amazing story. The thing that just keeps on going around in my head with just this, the 25, 30 minutes that we've been talking is, you're going surely. I mean, it's such a fascinating story and your upbringing and how there's kind of standard questions that I had prepared, but I just want to focus in on the kind of energy I'm getting. And something someone put out on the internet the other day is this thing about how to approach making a career out of music, and you've got to be tenacious, this, that, and the other. And there was a lot of kind of, mindful, psychological things. You've got to do this, you've got to do that. Mm-hmm. And I added, you've got to be aware that you're running a business. It's a business of one. And that's what strikes me about you is yes, your business is to be completely unabashed with your expression and your artistic approach to music. However, it's business.
Yes.
I mean, is there anything you want to say about that? Because I mean, someone the other day said to me, "Oh, to be a film composer these days, you've got to whiten your teeth and appear on YouTube," and you're just like, well, you don't have to whiten your teeth, but as I'm a testament to, but not recently anyway. But I just think that for me, YouTube has offered me an opportunity for people to feel they can get to know me a little bit better, and that has stand me in good stead. And whilst you're not trying to sell honey or male models, there's a lot to be said about even though I haven't seen it, your video. It says a lot about you. Mm-hmm. And from what you've described, I imagine I like this person. Do you know what I mean? It's not just what you're playing and how you're playing it. It's the fact that you have actually stuck your head above the parapet, I think makes a difference as well. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I do, absolutely. And so also after that first video, and I always invest in money, back like a business, back into the business.
This is such great advice.
Yeah, and I've over 100, maybe 150 videos up on YouTube. Not all music videos, but a lot of music videos. And I think also working as a business of one, just me, I work very quickly. And also, in addition to that, I couldn't afford to hire anyone. So I learned how to, now I direct, I edit, I produce all my videos. So learning to do these things, I think, is really important. Recording yourself, because you're able to work a lot faster, right? There's no miscommunications back and forth, just instant. Sometimes, I think one Christmas I said, oh, I want to release a Christmas album. I recorded and released an entire Christmas album in 1 week, which maybe that's not much marketing behind it, but it's a perennial thing. You know, it always comes back. So, but as far as a business, I might have not thought about it in that way, like using that word, because I feel like musicians especially, sometimes you say, oh, you have to brand yourself, you have to, you know, be a business. Some people are like, oh no, I'm an artiste, you know. Listen, I'm an artist too, I really am, but I would say 50-50. I'm half robot extremely analytical and logical, and then half, you know, completely the opposite, which that part of me comes out and is free when I perform, when I record in music. But in my day-to-day life, and coming from a background of not having very much, not having anything, and then needing to like fight and like, you know, just like little centimeter by centimeter try to like build something by myself. I think that actually lent again itself very well to developing this business, because I did think of myself as a product. I'm like, okay, I can do this. How can I make money from it? How can I turn it into a viable living? And I always had this goal of becoming a self-made millionaire. And I used to feel ashamed of that for some reason. I felt like that's shameful. I'm not sure why it is. Maybe like when you grow up again with not a lot of money, like sometimes you hear like, oh, like people with money are evil, or, you know, or some type of, and so I was very embarrassed to say that. But, you know, so that was also a focus, which, you know, I'm very grateful that I reached that goal, you know, several years ago. And you can't get there without being intentional, you know, about it. And also for me, being open-minded, because if I was like just hell-bent on I'm only going to play heavy metal, you know, I'm only going to do this, I'm not going to go anywhere else, I have no plan B, because sometimes people say, you know, don't have a plan B. And I've been told too, yeah, but you said that you put all of your money into a music video. I'm like, yeah, I did, but I also was prepared. I had, you know, lined up auditions and I had other plans.
As you said, I mean, this is going to be, I'm going to do that, and if that doesn't work,
but it's always say yes.
At least,
always say yes.
At least I tried. Goddammit, you know, is you know, one of my favorite quotes from. It was from One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest, which I think segues interestingly into your, I think probably quite back in its day, radical approach to allowing yourself to be sampled, to be a virtual instrument, to get into that world of technology as another form of expression, as another you know, channel for your brand, but also another revenue stream. I imagine. Do you want to take us through that, because it was quite a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a long time ago actually. So I was on a tour break from being in the circus. And now let me quickly just give you the circus story. I was in Cirque du Soleil, Michael Jackson, The Immortal World Tour. This is the longest name of a show ever, right? Yeah. And it was half owned by the Jackson estate and half owned by Cirque du Soleil after Michael passed away, because he wasn't able to do This Is It. And so I was brought in on electric cello. And by the way, do you know how they found me? YouTube.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
They sent me this thing where they had cut together a video of my videos as if I didn't know what, you know, they're like, oh, like we see that you can do this and this, some classical stuff, some of the, you know, the heavier metal stuff. Like we would like to present this to me, you know, to be in one of their shows. I'm like, okay, that's great, but I know that's me. Those are my videos that you're showing me, right? Yeah. And so they offered me 3 different tours, and Michael Jackson, The Immortal was the biggest one. It was an arena tour, and it paid the most, to be honest. That was it. And so I did that tour for 2 years. I was paid $3,500. I'm very open. Sorry if I'm too open, guys, but $3,500 a week, minus taxes, of course. And that was I mean, I didn't even make $3,500 in like a month, right, before that. So I said, what? I mean, that was, you know, so much money. And I thought, this is my opportunity to pay off my debt. I had 6 figures in debt from my instrument. I bought my own cello, which has tripled in value, thankfully, you know, but I bought like a very nice classical cello, my bows, music stuff. Just, I had to like put money on credit cards, some loans for school-related things. So in the first year, I spent $20 a week. I used an app that I still have on my phone. It's called My Budget Pal. And because food is covered, sorry, I'm going way off topic.
No, it's all good.
Like food is usually covered. There's like craft services. So I would take, not steal because it's provided for us, but I would take power bars and stuff to eat like during the days off where we didn't have access, because in my mind I'm like, I can't have this debt, right? You can't build wealth or security for myself with this debt.
Tell me about that. You think debt is, that was like, we have to get rid of that? For
me, I wanted to get rid of that. I also had like a car loan, and stuff with like slightly higher interest, and so because I spent so little and
But I just want to drill into, but why? Because so many people are happy to live in debt,
right?
And so many people are burdened with these huge. What was the motivator? Was it your parents telling you debt is bad, or was it you feeling that somehow it created problems that you wanted to eradicate?
You know what I said about freedom being like my maybe a core value, freedom. Yeah. So freedom in music and expression, freedom from owing anybody anything. I think that's a big value to me. I don't want to owe anyone anything. I don't want to have to, it's to me it was stressful every month. Oh my gosh, like saying I have to pay this much, I have to pay this, I have to pay that, all these different bills. Like how nice would it be if there was nothing, right? Or almost nothing. There's some basic stuff. And just personally, it was a personal value. There's nothing wrong with carrying debt. And there's definitely certain types of debt, like maybe business debt or whatnot, that are inevitable or maybe beneficial in some type of way, right? To build something bigger. So for me, it was most important to pay it off. So I did manage to pay that off in the first year, everything. And then I started taking courses online from like TD Ameritrade and some other investment, like stock investments, right? Because I knew nothing about it. My parents know nothing about it, but I thought, I've heard that like wealthy people, like what is the stock thing? And so I just took some courses, figured it out, started investing at that time. And so for me, it was, and I'm glad I did that because that makes up like almost half of my income as well, like from other investments and stuff that I've delved into. So when I was on a tour break from that circus situation, which really set me up, I think, as a good foundation, I'm forever grateful to Guy, the founder of Cirque du Soleil and the circus. I was asked by Michael Berry, Michael Berry, but Michael Berry at the time for Cinesamples. He's like, have you ever considered doing a sample library? And I did think like, am I replacing myself or would it be okay? But I truly feel that first and foremost, I didn't want to replace anyone else, right? So I'm like, okay, this is me. It's branded as me, so it's okay, right? And I feel like there's definitely applications for sample usage. I use samples myself. But if someone really wants something that's unique and different, and a one-off or something very specific, then they still have to hire me for a session anyway. So I thought it was good. And in addition, like my fee perhaps is too high to, in some instances for some people, or it's a low budget project, which is totally understandable. And I felt like it would be unreasonable to say, this is the only tier that's available. So I did 2 sample libraries with Cinesamples, which have done very well, and I'm very proud of, especially the solo legato patch, which is like the emotional, my signature sound on the classical cello, very emotional cello. But that was a long time ago. That was like, I don't even, well over 12, 13 years ago. And it has been a very long time since.
Have you considered working on any other sample libraries coming?
Gosh, I don't know.
Well, open it up to some questions from the crowd. And also, if you don't mind, we've got a bit of a prize giveaway.
Oh, yes.
I have a link on the homepage of thecrowhillcompany.com. Because we have been working on something, haven't we? There's something up a sleeve. And the way I kind of pitch it is, imagine if Tina were to get together with the mad people at the Crow Hill Company. What would that sound like? It's not going to sound clean, I don't think. But they're if you're very interested in to see what this is going to manifest, which we're hoping will be some Christmas lovely treats, then there's a sign-up field on our homepage. Sign up to that. But this has just been part of the absolute joy of getting to know you, Tina. And I think that what we should do is I should come back and we should definitely book some more time for a longer because there's so much I would really love to talk to you about. about stuff like exploitation and how you protect yourself against that. But also, I do think it's very interested to focus in on this idea that we are businesses. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I just kind of know, and I don't, maybe it's not right, but I just know I can't do anything else, so I just have to make it work. And I think that's one of the problems I see so many people get into is they put another string, excuse my pun, put another string to their bow that isn't music. And then suddenly that leads to a job that starts paying quite well. And then suddenly they've got debt and overheads, which suddenly means your freedom of choice is affected. And I think that just by focusing and going, well, this is the only way I'm going to earn money, I don't like this debt because it makes me make bad choices. So making hay while the sun shines, but it's always going to be music. It's exciting stuff. So we've got some friends on Google Meets.
Okay.
And let's see. So a lot of them have dressed up as pirates. I don't know if this is a pirate.
I can't see it. Oh,
Here we
oh
are.
wow.
There's lots of pirating going on. Does anyone have a question for Tina?
Can we hear them?
Can we hear anyone?
Oh, unmute.
Unmute.
Are we muted here?
Yeah. Are we,
I think.
okay. So does anyone have a question for Tina? I think they're being shy.
Oh wait, is it?
So loud.
Okay.
Hello, Chris and Tina.
Hi.
Hi, Bruno.
I don't have a question. I just want to say to Tina that I enjoy her work very, very much.
Hello.
And for example, Ice Lake and I Lost My Love in the Wind are some of my favorites, and they are still on my playlist, daily playlist.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful work.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else got a question for Tina? And I think we've got some from. Oh, look, here we go. Kent, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Very good indeed, Kent.
I do have a question for Tina, especially as a remote musician. It does not necessarily for Hans but for any composer. If you're asked to do any aleatoric or non-notated stuff, if you're not actually in the studio with the composer, speaking as a musician, what is the way that you typically handle that to where there's like no miscommunication, or do you typically are just like, here's the thing that I'm thinking of, have at it, send me what you got, and we'll go from there?
Yeah. Okay. So in general, with composers who I've worked with for a very long time, like Hans, like over 15 years, eventually at one point you just kind of develop this mind connection where I think it's just, you just know what they want. And then like later today, I'm working on a new soundtrack with Hans, but from my home studio. And so sometimes we'll do just like a quick FaceTime call and then just to discuss like generally what needs to be done. But as far as like something very effects based and aleatoric, I think when someone hires a musician, they should obviously be able to do that in the first place, right? So make sure the person you hire has that ability, because not everybody does. I think of it, again, I guess in a similar way as Hans, where if I hire a musician to work on a project, I hire them, not the instrument. I don't say I'm looking for a violinist. I want this person, right? And you should like the way that they express themselves. And I think in that respect, you tell them generally what you want, and then they'll just record a bunch of stuff. So for me, I try to over deliver just a little bit, right? Because you never want to send in stems that are like messy and then, it's not what the client wants. I'm very proud to say, I think in my entire history of doing remote sessions, I've only been asked to redo something one time, right? Because I'll do multiple takes of whatever's asked for, multi-track, like different variations, and then for effects, same thing. So different layers of effects. And then if it's on electric cello, for example, I process usually custom sounds for every single project. So like on Dune, I created 4 different sounds, and then I'll send all of the sounds with different processing. And in this new library, by the way. There's a lot of Dune-inspired sounds, which was a big part of the inspiration for that. And yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does. It does. I'm very proud to say that I work with a cellist quite a lot, so I'm always looking for ways to make her life easier and not hell.
Oh no, that's great. I think sometimes just having a call and talking about it is the best way to go.
Let's just take one more question before we go into this very important prize giving. Has anyone else got a question for Tina?
Oh, yes.
So I can't see the name. Is it Sam?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, my name's Sam Downey. I'm calling from Bristol in southwest England. So hello to the team.
Hey, Sam.
And hello, Christian. My question for you is to ask about what DAWs do you use, DAWs, to record your stems in, and what interfaces. So a good technical question to ask you, Tina.
Yes. So I work in Logic because when I first started, I was recording in GarageBand. Because I was self-taught and it was free on the computer, and that was the next logical step because it was very similar. And then I edit my video in Final Cut, same thing, Apple-based. And I now use, what do I use? Universal Audio, and I have a couple of different interfaces, but I think they're great. And then on the microphone, I have a Rupert Neve design from SE Electronics. So I have a bunch of microphones from them, but that's my main mic that I use.
Fantastic stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is we've launched some bundles, and we had a treasure hunt competition earlier on, where people were asked to find all of these. I basically had a picture with a bookshelf with lots of little gizmos hidden for people to search. The correct list of items that weren't made by Crow Hill are an analog Colossus, a General Electric P97 5D AM/FM radio, Sony Walkman, Clash London Calling, Steve Reich Music for 80 Musicians, Glenn Campbell Wichita Lineman, Ella Fitzgerald Souvenir Album, a Yamaha QY20, which is seen twice, GHS Fast Fret for anyone who was learning how to play the guitar in the 1990s and couldn't afford fresh strings for the guitars. They'd apply this horrible Brill Cream type stuff to the horrible stuff. Yamaha DX7 user manual, the ET game for Atari. If anyone hasn't watched the documentary about the ET game for the Atari, that's a must watch. They buried them all out in the desert. I kid you not. A drink made by Coca-Cola called Quattro, Apple QuickTake 200, a Live Aid ticket, a Boss TU6 guitar tuner, and a Sony Watchman. And we have 5 winners, and they've all, funny enough, only 5 of the people who entered got everything, including that weird Sony thing that we did. Is it a TP50? Anyway, we've got 5 prizes, 5 winners. So I'm going to go in reverse order, starting with the strings bundle. I've basically got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 names here, Tina. So could you pick a number 1 to 5?
Oh, goodness. Let's do 3.
3. So Sebastian Guerrero is the first winner of the strings bundle. Then we've got the media composer bundle. So a number 1 to 5, not 3.
5.
Is Jonathan Holmeyer. And then we've got the amazing Monarch bundle, which is basically everything that we've made thus far. So we've got, we did 3 and 5, is that correct?
That's correct.
So we've got 1, 2 and 4 to go.
Number 1.
Number 1, Rodrigo Lopez, you're now a Monarch owner. Then we have a hall pass for everything Crow Hill's going to put out there in 2020. What is next year? Is it 25 or 26?
25. I hope.
2025. So the hall pass goes to
Number 5. Did I say that already?
No, that's Sam Overbeek. Excuse me if I pronounce your name wrong. But the biggest prize of all is going to be this surprise thing that we're making together, coming out in December. And that prize is going to go to Jimmy Svensson, number 2. Congratulations to you all.
Yay!
Do check out our bundles. That basically, because the Glass Strings bundle is part of all of the bundles, and that's still on promo. The bundles are as cheap as you'll get them, so they will remain at that price until Monday, inclusive. The reason we've got together here, amongst the fact that it's good Thanksgiving, it's great to be amongst friends, is also because of Black Friday. We don't do sales. That's the plan for the future, is to value what we do and not to devalue it. So we hope people take advantage of this bundle deal, which will end on Monday, along with all sorts of other fun that we'll be having. But Tina, all I want to say is I want to come back and talk to you for longer, because there's I think that there is so much to talk about, not least your passion for sound, and I imagine that's where you and Hans overlap massively. He is so passionate about those things. Anything else coming up that's exciting? We weren't allowed to talk about my career in doing something naughty because of this gig next week. Please, pray tell.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very, very excited to be performing at the Vatican next week. It's my first time. I'm performing 6 pieces, one with an incredible Italian composer who's also a priest. So he's like the world's foremost sacred music composer, Marco Frisina. My friend Dario Vera, who I met, he's also a film composer in Italy. And he composed a brand new piece for cello and symphony. So we're going to premiere that, and then one of his soundtrack pieces. And then of course, I also got Hans roped into this. So we're performing Da Vinci Code. It's my first time doing that piece. Pirates, of course, Time. And then he's also doing Pearl Harbor. So it'll be a really nice, I think, a nice program. And it's a charity concert with 3,000 of the tickets given away to the homeless. And we give them like dinner and stuff after. So it's a really nice cause, and I'm just really happy to be a part of it. And then a quick show with Tommy Prophet in Nashville at the Grand Ole Opry 2 days after that.
Wow.
And then I'm done for the year.
Oh, that's great. Well, a little bit, because there's something that we're releasing later.
Oh,
just before the end.
Of course.
That
That's the biggest thing.
Tina, thanks so much for coming all the way across town to do this. And, sorry to people who were tuned in for the technical glitches. We'll try and iron those out next time. But we do these every week, this podcast, usually on Thursdays. So do subscribe and check in. It's just a safe space to come and hang out and have a chat and talk to each other about samples, doors, and all sorts of other stuff. But Tina, I will come back and find a podcast studio closer to you in the future, but I think there's so much more to talk about. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
And see you all later.
Bye.